Today, my guest again is Beth Guckenberger.
It's really critical that we, as the church, wrap ourselves around orphan care so that we can insulate them from the folks that want to abuse and exploit them.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. Today, my guest again is Beth Guckenberger. Welcome back, Beth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's wonderful to have you. She wrote a new book that is called Tales of the Not Forgotten. Now, this is listed as a book for 8 to 12-year-olds, but I really enjoyed this book. And I think it's a great book for families and for children. Children can use it alone. Parents would enjoy reading it on their own. The stories in here are just incredible.
Thank you.
I remember particularly there's one girl who escaped, ended up on a train, and ended up finding a baby. That story, I think, was my favorite in the book.
It was. I love asking people which ones they like the best.
I think that one was the one that stuck with me the most. I mean, chance could not have done everything that happened in that story the way the children, the way God just orchestrated it for them to be taken care of, for her to get off at just the right stop. And it was just amazing.
Yes.
So,
that story's set in India, where there are 33 million orphans, many of them girls and young women. And to think, I don't know how God keeps all of them in his mind's eye. I can't figure that all out, but I am grateful when we can narrow it down to one, watch him protect one, and know that those principles apply to all of them.
Yeah, none of them are forgotten.
None of them.
Which is the point you make in the book.
Yes.
You work with orphaned and abandoned children in several parts of the world.
My family and I make our home in Monterrey, Mexico, where my kids are in school and where I'll fly back to when this is over. But our ministry has bases in several different countries, so we do a lot of travel going to those countries, supporting that staff, encouraging them, doing training, visiting, drawing attention. So the stories from Tales of the Not Forgotten come from some of those different places, from Jos, Nigeria, and Hyderabad, India, and Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and then in Monterrey, Mexico.
Yeah. Well, it's just, like I said, a really good, it's a good read, as well as, I mean, it just makes you think about how awesome God really is.
Yes, he is. I've only written adult titles until now, and I wanted to write a book. I've been noticing that as families come on mission trips with us, that when the whole family comes, they have this transformative experience. They begin to have this kind of shared language, and their DNA gets a little adjusted, and then they go home and they have conversations of substance that we parents love to have with our children about missions and missions ideas. And so I wanted to create a tool that for families who weren't able to travel internationally as a family, who for all kinds of reasons won't be able to make that trip in their lifetime. So I wanted to create a tool that would tell some of those still same stories, that would give them opportunities to really engage in the issues of the world. There's a story about clean water. There's a story about slavery. There's a story about hunger, a story about shelter. So that parents and kids could talk about the things through the eyewitnessing that I'm doing for them.
Yeah, that's great. And you have a lot of little sidebar like things that are fun. Like you'll have scripture verses that apply, and then these little areas that start the story off that are really interesting, and little maps like the map of India, and then little facts like the current population of India is estimated to be 1.2 billion, and there are approximately 30 million orphans in India. That's a really nice thing, and it makes it fun. I think homeschoolers would love this book.
Yes, Christian schools and Sunday schools and homeschools. I've been getting lots of feedback from people like that, because it's educational but uses that form of story which we all respond to.
Yeah, and then like here you have a postcard, and you talk about the character in the book, and that they speak, this particular one speaks one of the many Indian languages, and you give this name and you tell what it means. And that's just a lot of fun things to add to the book.
Thank you.
And then like, remember this, what can you give? Generosity changes everything. So it's a real usable resource.
Thank you.
And it's a fun resource. I think kids will read it over and over. And as a parent, I want to go back and reread some. I'm actually a grandparent now, but I'd like to go back and reread some of these and have my grandchildren read it when they get old enough.
Yes.
So
That was exactly my hope, that it would be something that
Yeah.
multi-generations could share, and that the littlest of the readers and listeners would just maybe grasp the theme of the story. But the older the reader is, the more they want to know about that country or about that issue, about ways they can be involved. There's a companion that comes with the book that has a curriculum that goes with it, and the curriculum has like cubes that you can fold and put at your dinner table, and that was a activity you could do at dinner after you read the book, or cards that you can place in your bathroom or your car.
now, is that a separate book?
It's a separate resource that comes with it. It's a CD
CD, okay.
curriculum, and we wrote lots of really fun activities to make kind of those big picture ideas really tangible for kids.
That's good. It's really important with children to make things tangible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It does work for kids to read it on their own if they're
100%.
about 5th grade level, reading level, right?
Anywhere from
Okay.
8 to 12 is where they've targeted the reading level, so
It's just good. But, I mean, it's my reading level, too. I really like this book. I wanted to quote a couple of things in here
Okay.
that really impressed me. You know, when we do things for the Lord, a lot of times we can feel discouraged if we don't see results. And I'm sure as a missionary you've had that many, many times.
Absolutely.
And you've done that for how many years now?
15.
15 years. So there's probably many, many
Yes.
times, and you were tempted to feel that total discouragement and feel
Yes.
like, Lord, am I doing anything?
Yes.
And I thought this was the best advice here. You said, if you feel that God is asking you to serve Him, it's important to remember not to count on looking around and seeing evidence that you are making a difference. No matter what happens, our focus has to stay on Jesus, the one who can see what our work will mean long after we have left the scene. That was such good advice.
That was after a section about a missionary to Africa in the 1920s who died in the 80s. And in the place where she spent her lifetime ministering.
That's another of my favorite stories.
Is the scene from one of the stories. And she died before the event happened, but it very much stands on top of the testimony and the ministry that she had there. So now, as a part of the Great Cloud of Witnesses, she can see what that was about. But I'm sure there were many days during her missionary life when she wondered if anything that she was doing was making a difference.
Yeah, exactly. And that's an encouragement for parents, too, because sometimes we don't realize some of the little things that we do that mean something to our children. They might tell us when they're 40 years old, do you remember when you did this? That changed my whole perspective on such and such. And, you know, so it's really important for us to just do our best with the Lord's help and let Him take care of the rest.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You also said here, every story you read in this book has chapters that came before it and chapters that have come since. Your life is the same. No part you play is too small. Our job is just to be involved. It is God who makes it all come together. God is the one who changes lives. The gospel isn't about what we can do. It's about what God's already done for us. We just get to tell stories and live in stories that share this truth, the truth that no one is forgotten. That was beautiful, beautifully written, and so true.
Thank you.
It was so true.
I love that verse. It has moved me. The verse that says that our names are engraved in the palm of His hand. And that idea that not the most popular kid in the class's name is on the hand, not the president of our country is in the hand, but all of us have our name written in the palm of His hand. He loves each of us and made each of us, regardless of whether we choose Him or not. He knows who we are and loves us.
That's right. He knows our name. He knows the number of hairs on our head.
Yes, He does.
Wow. That is amazing. And that changes almost sometimes minute by minute.
Yes.
And when you think of the vast number of people on this earth and all the stars that He knows all by name,
Yes.
we serve an amazing God, don't we?
We serve an amazing God.
Yes, we do. Talk to us about international orphans and international adoption, which is clearly the passion of your life.
The numbers vary, whether you're looking at the UN or the World Health Organization, but somewhere between 150 and 163 million orphans exist around the world. And, you know what? There's a lot of ways we can tackle that problem, but God specifically called his church to be at the forefront of that conversation and to be at the head of that line that's chasing the orphan. And so really it's in the name of Jesus, not in the name of the organization I work for or my country or anything else, that I stand out there as close as I can to the orphan. And for some of your viewers, maybe one way they can be involved in orphan care is to pray for orphans. Maybe they can be involved by donating to defray the cost of somebody's adoption. Maybe they can become foster parents, or there's a new organization called Safe Families. Maybe they can go on a missions trip. They can support an international missionary. There's so many ways they can be involved in orphan care besides just adopting. Lots of people tell me, I could never do that. That's not for me. And I understand that. That isn't for everybody. But caring for the orphan is a call in our Bible that everyone has to read. It is something that none of us are free from. So no matter how it is that you get involved in the orphan call, I just encourage your viewers to consider, because we can't break God's economy. We can't change the laws of the way he's designed things. When we give ourselves, he blesses us. When we might feel poorer because we're giving more money away, but the truth is he's actually going to make us richer. And I don't even mean in dollars in our bank account. I just mean in when you pour yourself out for someone, you end up getting filled up in the end. And so
Yes, you do.
it is, Orphan Care Ministry is in the center of his heartbeat. He has written dozens of promises for orphans in Scripture. And when we become the hands and feet and flesh out those promises, it's a pretty amazing way to be.
Yeah. Now you have taken orphans into your home. They've become your own children.
Yes, I have 9 children.
Yes.
3 of them are biological, 3 of them are adopted, and 3 of them are foster daughters. And but I love them all the same. I just hung up the phone with them, hearing all the different places they were going off to today. And yeah, even though they didn't all come to me in the same way, God multiplies the love in our heart. It's not, if another child comes into our family, that it's not like my time is divided now, that one more time. It's truly multiplied. It's something that does not make sense in our head. It only makes sense when you experience it in your own life.
Well, it's kind of like tithing.
Yes, yes.
It works about the same way.
Yes.
That, you obey God, and then he brings the increase, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of the orphans, and we talked about this the last time you were here, are actually, they become slaves, don't they? And what can we do to help prevent that?
Yeah, the child slavery issue is enormous internationally. Every 26 seconds, a new child is trafficked somewhere around the world. In the year 2012, they estimate that the TCOs, or the transcriminal organizations, will make more money off of human trafficking than they will off of guns, arms trafficking, or drug trafficking. Because when you sell a drug or you sell an arm, some kind of weapon, you have to go back and remanufacture or regrow more in order to sell. But with a human, when you sell a human, you get to use them again the next day and not have to create more product. And so it's more profitable for the TCOs, or the underbelly of this world, to sell humans. And so orphans are the easiest ones to pick off. No one's standing between the dark influence and the orphan. There's no family or support system around them. So it's really critical that we, as the church, wrap ourselves around orphan care so that we can insulate them from the folks that want to abuse and exploit them, without a doubt.
And how can we do that?
There are lots of ways you can do that. Lots of great websites, lots of really special organizations that are working in that. I'm sure at the end I'll tell you about our organization, but if you get online and begin to research, there's a lot of really special Christian-based organizations: Destiny's Rescue, International Justice Ministry, of course ourselves, Back2Back Ministries. We have lots of ways in which you can donate money or go on a trip or pray specifically for a situation or help with. There's 3 areas in in trafficking ministry. There's the prevention, helping create homes and places and educational centers and safe houses and in different countries of the world where kids know they can come if they feel threatened. Then there's the actual rescue piece of it, which is mainly done by professionals in the country. Those are the people that run the sting operations and knock down the doors.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the restoration, which a lot of ministries internationally are involved in the restoration of girls and boys who have been rescued from trafficking. And then they can be in a small family or small group home and receive the counseling and love and attention and mentoring they need for that healing process to begin.
Yeah. Well, I just really pray that God wakes us all up
Yes.
to start being involved in this, because
Yes.
it is crucial.
It's devastating.
Yeah. And I pray that your ministry will increase, and
Thank
that
you.
You'll be able to save more and more orphans. And I just thank you for all that you do on behalf of the rest of the church.
Thank you.
Just thank you so much for your example and your love for the orphans. It just shines through.
Yes.
And so where can people find you online?
They can find me at my own website, which is BethGuckenberger.com. That's Guckenberger. Or our ministry website, which is Back2Back, with the number 2, back and the number 2back.org.
Okay, and this book is Tales of the Not Forgotten, and it is really a great resource. Thank you so much for being our guest again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.